This is me 12 years ago trying to learn a handstand in my living room. And within not even 1 month, I was already holding a consistent 10-second handstand at the age of 8. For weeks and weeks, I would just spend time in my living room every single day trying to kick up and hold a handstand. And because of this, I've now been able to achieve what most people would deem as some of the best balancing ability in the entire world. So let me guess. You've probably spent weeks, months, or literally even years sometimes training handstand, and you don't really know what you're doing, and you don't really know if there's a way to make progress. I bet your training looks something like this. Maybe you'll do wall handstand holds, kick-up attempts, balance practice, but it still never works, right? Well, there's one mistake that I'm willing to bet $1 million that you have no idea that you're making, and it's the biggest mistake you could possibly make. You're doing it backwards. What? When you were born, could you stand yet? No. Okay, so now you and a baby are on the same page. You need to learn how to stand on your hands, and the baby needs to learn how to stand on its feet. Both of you need to learn how, respectively. And now that we're on the same page, I'll ask you this. If you were to try to teach a baby how to stand on its 2 feet, how would you do it? I'll give you a few seconds. Well, I'll tell you how I would. First, I'd get the baby and I'd prop it up against the wall for like 30 seconds and I'd make sure its form was good and stuff. And then I'd have it hold there. And when it got tired, I would have it rest for like 2-3 minutes and then do it again. And then after that, I'd have it just attempt standing up. And then when it fell over, which would probably be immediately, I'd have it stand up again and try to stand again. You're probably looking at me like I'm a idiot. And I would be if that's genuinely what I would do, because that is not anywhere close to how babies learn to stand. You see what I'm getting at? While we're at it, let me ask you one more question. What do you think babies do first? Walk or stand? I'll give you a few seconds. I'm willing to bet that 80% of you said stand. And if you said stand, you would be wrong. Standing is actually harder than walking and stumbling around. It requires you to have a much more refined ability to balance in only your toes and only your feet. Most babies learn to cruise, walking while holding onto furniture, and take initial and independent steps several months before they can successfully balance and stand completely still on their own. So with this in mind, I'll ask you one more time. If you had to teach a baby how to stand, how would you do it? Or in other words, how do babies learn how to stand? Probably by walking, by stumbling around, by knowing how to move on their feet first, right? You would let them fall over, front, back, sideways, right, left, wherever. And then after a very long time of this, they'd eventually just kind of gain an intuitive understanding of how to move around on their feet. When you're balancing on one foot, are you consciously thinking, oh, let me move my foot this way? No, you're not. It just happens. And that's because you spent so much time on your feet that at this point, it's just second nature to your brain. And once they've done this, all they have to do to stand is just make those adjustments smaller. Move their foot a little less. Try not to move as much. And then eventually over time, what does this lead to? They're able to just stand on their feet without trying. And that, my friends, is a handstand. You just learned the correct way to learn a handstand. A static handstand is not just you locked into concrete upside down. It's a microscopic battle between your brain, your muscles, your nerves, and everything else. And when you're holding a static handstand, you're making every single adjustment that you would make walking in a handstand, but you're only doing that in your fingertips. But right now, your brain doesn't even know what it feels like to be upside down. Sure, you've probably kicked up and done some handstand attempts, but it has no intuitive understanding of how to balance. You're trying to skip way too many steps. This isn't your fault, because this is what everybody on social media tells you to do. If I told you that I was going to learn how to paint, but in order to do that, I was going to paint the Mona Lisa first, you'd probably look at me and call me a fucking idiot. Doesn't it make more sense to start with something easier and then gradually move up to harder and harder things after you've learned how to paint? It's the exact same thing with a handstand. Get comfortable upside down first. Try to spend as much time upside down as you can. Walk around. Do not focus on your form. Do not focus on holding it. Just try to stay upside down for as long as you possibly can. In gymnastics, I was able to walk in a handstand for 2 minutes before I was ever able to hold it still for 5 seconds. And that's exactly why it only took me 3 weeks to get it as a kid. I showed you in the beginning of this video, I would go home every day from practice and I would spend 30 minutes in my living room just kicking up and trying to hold a handstand and just moving around. As you can tell, I did not give a about my form. I didn't care about where I was going. I wasn't trying to hold it. I was literally just trying to stay upside down for as long as humanly possible. The first day, I was pretty shit, I'm not gonna lie. The next day, okay, it might not have been good, but it just felt a little better. I had a little bit more idea of what I was supposed to do. And then the next day, I definitely felt more comfortable upside down. And then a week from now, I already had a sense of being upside down. I knew where to put my hand when I was falling forward. I knew where to put it when I was going backwards. And then the loop just continues. And all of this was happening unconsciously. As I mentioned, the same way you don't think about which way to move your feet when you're walking or balancing on one foot, you're not supposed to be thinking about which direction to push your hands into the ground in a handstand. It should just come naturally. And this is the process that you use to get that. And I know what some of you are thinking. Okay, Landon, you know, this is great and all, but you were a kid. Okay, my shoulders feel like rusty hinges. I work for 8 hours a day. This is just not possible for me. I get it. You know, there's more variables than just kicking up and trying to stay upside down. There's programs. It's different for everybody. And that's exactly why when I build my programs for my clients, we don't just guess. We take a deep look at their lifestyle. We take a deep look at their past and see what we need to change and what we need to do to actually get them to their goal. It is the death of cookie cutter programs. You know, because if you can't even get your shoulders over your head, you could spend a year trying to do what I'm telling you in this video and it still wouldn't work. So if you want to skip the trial and error completely, I'm going to tell you at the end of this video how you can get me to fix it for you. But first, we need to look at how we can actually turn walking into a static handstand. Okay, so this is all cool and all. It's like, you know, I know how to learn a handstand, but like what literally am I supposed to do? So I'm gonna show you right now what I want you to do. Now, I do have a wrist injury, so I'm not gonna be showing you this on the ground like you would be doing. I'm gonna be using parallettes, but just know that you should be using the ground, not the parallettes for this. Now, there's many different ways you can do this, but what I would recommend is a few sessions every single day, like 2 to 3 sessions every single day that are just anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. So it's a total of about 30 minutes per day, 20, 30 minutes per day. And all I want you to do is go into an area where there's a lot of open space and put your hands on the ground. I'm gonna be using the parallettes as I just mentioned. And I just want you at first to just try and like kick up and get upside down. And at first it's probably just gonna look like this. It's probably not gonna be very clean. And then after a while, you'll kind of gain an understanding, you know, okay, I have to kick up this much to be upside down. And then eventually, once you're able to get upside down, I want you to try to take your first step with your hand. Whatever direction you feel yourself going in, I just want you to move your hand in that direction. So with the parallettes, it would look something like this. I kick up, I'm falling this way, I just move my hand and I come back. And once you feel comfortable, you can start sort of elaborating on that, I guess, if that's a good word, and moving your hands in the direction that you're falling. So maybe you only take 1 step for, you know, the first few sessions. And then after that, maybe you feel comfortable taking 2 steps. You're like this, and then you fall. And then once again, maybe after 1 session or another few sessions, you can start taking like 3 steps and, you know, you'll go sideways and it'll look something like that. And you keep going, so on and so forth, until you really just feel comfortable upside down. We're not worried about the form. We're not worried about proper technique or engagement. We're just worried about staying upside down for right now. So what it would look like after you've, you know, gotten a pretty good idea of what it feels like to balance upside down is you'll kick up into a handstand. Maybe your form's not so good, and you'll be able to just kind of walk around like this. You'll be able to just take many steps, obviously with your hands on the ground, and after doing that, you'll be able to notice that your brain is just kind of doing it. You know, I know I'm falling this way, so I'm moving, you know, my hands like this. I'm moving my hands like this, and I'm using that to counter my balance. And once you pass that stage to the point where you're pretty comfortable upside down, what I want you to do is try to start not moving as much. So I want you to try to kick up to a handstand and try hold it for as long as you can. Maybe it'll look like this, and then, you know, you take a step. Try and, you know, hold it there, and then you take a step. So you're gonna try and hold it for as long as you can in between these steps, and try to make the steps a little smaller too, but you don't want the steps to be so small that it doesn't catch you. And after a while of doing this, maybe a few weeks, it'll probably look something like this. You know, you kick up, maybe your form's a little better, your feet are apart, take 1 step, oh, okay, I'm holding it here, falling this way, yep, let's move back this way, catch myself, move this way. And then after that, you've kind of already gained a good sense of what it feels like to be upside down. You've started making very good progress on moving to just your hands. And then after a while, what that transfers to is, you know, you'll be able to kick up into a handstand and hold it for, you know, 10 seconds before you move. And once you're at that point, you can start trying to fix up your form. Maybe if your legs were like this before, maybe you could straighten them out. And then from there, once you already know how to balance, that's when you can start doing everything. All right, now what I also want you to do in these sessions is a few times a day, I do want you to use the wall. So I want you to kick up into a handstand like this and move your feet up slowly. And then from there, you should be able to work on your form here. And then maybe, if your form is like this on the wall, you can record yourself and you realize, okay, I need to get my feet together. And then over time, you'll end up being able to fix your form. And then what you can also do on the wall is start taking your feet off and trying to learn how to just balance on your hands. So you're gonna use less assistance from your feet and put more reliance on your hands, so that over time, it's not just the walking that's giving you a good idea of how to, balance upside down, but it's also you using the wall and learning how to actually balance staying still. So that way you're incorporating both into your training. You're also learning how to do the proper form. Now, I wish I could drop an exact program and blueprint for each one of you specifically, but that's realistically just not how it works. Yes, this method will work for everybody, but the specifics are much different for each individual person. And there's a massive difference between understanding how this works and actually knowing it through experience. So go out today, clear some space in your room or your living room or wherever, and just start stumbling. It doesn't matter. It's not gonna be pretty at first. If you stick with this method, your brain will figure it out organically, whether you think so or not. It's how everybody I knew in gymnastics did it, and it's how I did it as well. But once you bridge the gap from, walking to a pretty clean handstand or even a clean handstand, going from there is where it actually gets extremely difficult. Things get highly technical and you can risk wasting literal months or even years like I did in the beginning, not knowing what to do. And you can spend the next months or even years, guessing what to do and recording yourself and thinking that what you're doing is right, or you can let me take the guesswork out of it completely for you. And that's exactly why I'm searching for motivated people who are tired of kicking up every single day and not seeing results. People who actually want to see results in their life and not just calisthenics, and learn how calisthenics can improve their life as well. If you want me to take a look at your video footage, look at your blind spots, see what you're doing wrong that you might not be able to see yourself, then check out the link in the description. Stop standing still, start moving. I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.